Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to good old Honest J. Nowak. And right now, still quite a ways away from coming to the end of HJN. But no matter how I feel about this, I really gotta say, there's lots that I will be able to talk about, whether or not I'm enjoying any of this in any sense of the way. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and start doing some more stuff over here. Because if I take one more glance at this notepad, let's see if I can get it really memorized here. Okay, this time, it's over. Number 559 and onwards. Let's see how far I can go without forgetting anything. Right now, it's time for me to start talking about the Wild Wild West. And I ain't really just talking about the Will Smith film from 1999. And I ain't just really talking about the many other pop culture references or full-on appearances of the Wild West, such as in Back to the Future Part 3, Tall Tale, and many other films that have been set during that era in history. I'm just simply talking about the pure variant that we all know and particularly love, pretty much. Just known as the Wild West. Because, after all, Red Dead Redemption was such a big game series. And the second game, which came out in 2018, is still one of my favorite games of all time, on PS4 and in general, really. It's mainly because of its source material, which is just Red Dead Redemption, and it had been going on since 2005. And then, of course, we got ourselves the sequels and side stories and the like that have taken place. But the Wild West itself was certainly no part in fiction. It was a huge thing in history at the time where lots of things were happening. Of course, we remember that the Wild West does involve a lot of things that most pop culture would actually reference, like saloons, stables with horses, and of course some old-timey looking houses, which appear nothing much like the kind that we have today. But architecture from the 19th century, compared to how we have it here 200 years later, is still a different concept. Because there was a lot of things that we were looking for when it came to trying to find a good house. And of course, houses made during that particular era in time was a bit different than you might expect. But of course, we still have some of the old design cues and tropes that have been around for a long time, like stairs, ladders, floors, ceilings, walls, sometimes pictures and mirrors, doors, locks, and much more. But the Wild West is just a lot more than that. Of course, there was the showcase of open countryside and roads, towns, deserts, and even the Arctic. They've all been put together in Red Dead Redemption 2 very nicely. Plus a lot more. But let's not go that far there, because the point here in the Wild West is that, well, there was also a lot of different gunslingers out there. There was, of course, the famous story of Billy the Kid and the Jesse James Outlaw. And we also cannot forget the fact that, well, we had a bunch of presidents during that time. We had people out there like Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland, and William McKinley, and a lot more. So, I guess that pretty much just goes to show that the Wild West did have a lot going for it. And also, it was a pretty big time for technology to come around, because even though the steel alloy had not come around much yet, there was still a lot that many people in the 19th century had to do with giving us technological advances. We had a lot of different things going on. We had the train, we had the car, we had the steamboats, the cotton gin, the light bulb. Yeah. We had all of that good stuff going on throughout the whole 19th century itself. And how the Wild West were able to take it? Well, simple. They just did. They took the good old light bulb, the car, the train, the steamboat, and a lot more. And it's still stuck around, even to the present day, where we now have ourselves another type of light bulb out there, the more fluorescent variety. And the type, of course, that wouldn't really lead to anything dangerous. So, I feel like I'm just pushing it. So I feel like that I might as well just conclude this by saying that the Wild West was a huge point in history that did lead to a lot of different things happening throughout the next century and a half up until today, but nevertheless, it still is something that's very recognizable in all of this century. And even till today, we really are able to push the limits of what we could possibly make that is set in that time and place, regardless of which part of the country it is. So that's just the Wild West as a whole. But of course, we can't really forget that there is still a lot more here in HChan that I probably should talk about soon. So if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.